What is happening, people? You're back for another dose of Delboy, and today we are in the know with Anderson North. How are you, sir?
I'm fine and dandy, thank you. How about yourself? Are you all good?
I'm not too bad. I honestly cannot complain. I mean, we're in lockdown at the moment. I wish, we could be outside, but
yeah,
what can we really do?
I'll say it's lockdown's been driving me crazy. Lockdown 2, the electric boogaloo. So,
how's it been so far? Like, have you been able to get up to much? I know there's not much wrestling at the moment, but
well, when the first lockdown started, I knew it was probably going to be a while till wrestling started up again. Obviously with crowds and everything, and obviously it's hard to social distance when you've got to get that close to somebody in a ring.
Yeah, exactly.
But I enjoyed when the gyms reopened again.
I think we all did.
Again. But I knew again with everything that was going on, it was probably going to be only a matter of time before we went back into lockdown. So I'm just trying to do the best that I can at home now in terms of workouts and trying to keep myself active on social media and stuff. So
yeah. No, I won't lie to you. I struggled. Like the first lockdown, I was able to get into a routine of like home workouts, but it just got to a point where I find it so daunting. I can't. Oh shit. Headphones knocked out. Yeah, I found it daunting getting the home workouts done. And then even now with this lockdown, I've been able to get myself back into it, but at the same time, it's just not the same as the gym.
So at home, I've only got really enough space for a couple of like dumbbells and some resistance bands. So I'm having to get quite imaginative with how we use those.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. So before we get this started, I want to do a bit of an icebreaker with you, just to kind of get to know a bit about you. So let's say, here's the icebreaker. If you had to listen to 5 songs for the rest of your life, which 5 songs would it be?
Well, that's a good question because I've got a very eclectic music taste. I'm going to mark out for myself a little bit here and say the first song would be Hellraiser by Motorhead, which I've been using as my entrance song.
Sick.
Before lockdown. So yeah, that would be probably the first one. Number 2 would probably it's a very different song. Would be Birth of the Blues by Sammy Davis Jr. One of my favourite singers of all time. I love the Rat Pack. I love like swing music and stuff like that. So,
Sammy Davis Jr. is amazing.
Yeah, it's by far the most talented member. The guy could sing, he could dance, he could act, incredible talent. Number 3 would probably be back to metal again. Probably be Battle Hymn by Manowar. Very power metal band. Love them. They're one of the bands that got me into rock and metal music. So that would be number 3. Number 4, it's a really relaxing song for me, and again, it's completely different from the other ones I've listed. Would be Ode to Joy, classical piece. Yeah, it's one of those I like to put my headphones on, just lie back and
just zone out to. Yeah, I could imagine.
Number 5.
It's a tough one. Because remember, you've picked 4 already, so this last one has to be just as good if you're going to keep these for the rest of your life.
Number 5, I've thought of it. Number 5, this is what it takes me back to being a kid, this song, and it always gets me nice and puts a smile on my face. It would be Zero to Hero from Disney's Hercules, believe it or not. I turned 33 in a week and a half, and I unapologetically still love Disney. So, yeah. I would choose that.
No, that's amazing. I'm going to make sure we have the songs listed in the description as well, so if people want to go and listen to it, have a gander. So let's go back to the beginning. As a young kid, I'm sure you started watching wrestling as a young kid.
Yeah, young kid.
Yeah, tell me some moments like that stuck out to you growing up in terms of wrestling. Like, what made you so infatuated and want to get into this business? So, are there any moments that you saw and you thought to yourself, "Yeah, this is for me"?
I'm sure, like a lot of us, we have a lot of moments that made us go, "Wow, this is like the greatest thing ever." One of the ones would probably be the first time I saw the Undertaker walking out very grim, very quiet, because of course he came about in an era where it was still all highly muscular but very colourful characters.
Characters, yeah.
Warrior with the tassels, and he was very loud and energetic. And again, with Hulk Hogan, he had the "what are you going to do, brother" kind of promos going on.
Yeah.
And it was Undertaker. this huge guy walking out, very grim, very quiet, didn't say much.
Anything, yeah.
I was like, that was definitely, it was a wow kind of moment. Rey Mysterio, first watching Rey Mysterio, I mean, being a smaller guy myself, I always kind of loved Rey Mysterio anyway, but just my first taste of him when he was in ECW and WCW.
Oh, what a time.
Oh, it's a great time to be a wrestling fan, and it was just watching him pull out all these like crazy moves that at that point I'd never seen anyone do, and watching him getting get over the crowd and have success and it was just amazing watching him do these gravity-defying things, just completely defied the laws of physics.
Especially at that time as well.
Yeah, especially at that time. I mean, we're still very much in the era of huge 6.5 foot, 300-pound guys, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but seeing a smaller guy having that amount of success and doing these gravity-defying moves and whatnot was brilliant to me. Probably the first time I saw The Rock as well, during the Attitude Era. I think a lot of people really got into wrestling thanks to The Rock, but I really loved when he went from his early, when he wore his tassels at Survivor Series and everything, and all happy and smiling, and he came back and when he turned heel and joined the Nation. I don't know what it was, because I say I was maybe 10 or 11 when I saw that, but I really got into the way he spoke and the way he did his matches. It just really got me. So probably a few of the moments that really got me into wrestling and thought, right, I've got to obsessively watch this now every week when I can.
Yeah. So you've mentioned The Rock, Undertaker, Rey Mysterio. So were there any other besides those? Were there any other wrestlers that you were proper interested in? Which wrestlers?
There were a few other wrestlers I was interested in as a kid, but there's a few that I appreciated more as I got older. Like Ken Shamrock, for example. I come from a martial arts background myself, so
I was going to ask that later on as well, because I've seen even some of the pictures you sent me and some of the moves I've seen from you. It's very martial arts orientated. Even the kick pads as well. When I saw your kick pads, it reminded me of Ken Shamrock's.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was when I first started training for wrestling, I really struggled to find my style, if you like, because I said I'm a smaller guy. I'm only 5'6". Okay. So initially, I kind of thought, wanted to get into Rey Mysterio style of wrestling.
Yeah.
Bouncing off stuff and whatnot, and then I realised I am far too clumsy to do that kind of wrestling. So obviously worked a little bit on trying to do things, and then it got to a weekend. I decided I'll have a couple of beers and watch some wrestling, and Ken Shamrock match came up, and I was like, it just kind of clicked when I watched him, because he comes from MMA background. I'm like,
yeah,
I've got that background. Why don't I just incorporate that? It's an easier transition.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. How long were you doing?
I loved how he.
Fun? No, carry on. I was just going to ask them, how long have you been doing martial arts for?
Martial arts. I started martial arts when I was about 8 years old.
Oh, okay.
My parents got me into a local karate group.
Yeah.
And I really took to it. I don't know. It's something. I mean, maybe it was a discipline. Maybe it was the athletic aspect. Maybe it was the exercise. But I really got into it. I really took to it, and my interest kind of expand off from there.
Oh, wicked. Oh yeah, because I'm even with you talking about the whole MMA style and just infusing it with wrestling. I feel like it's something that has been brewing in maybe the last 20 years, but I feel like in maybe say the last 10 years, it's become more of a popular thing. We see the likes of Bobby Fish, Kyle O'Reilly.
Yeah, so even with the rise of UFC and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. So even with a lot of the Japanese strong style, we see a lot of these MMA, karate, judo infused moves that's come into wrestling. And it's for me, I feel like in maybe the last 6 or 7 years, I feel like that's probably my favorite style of wrestling. Because for me, I feel like it seems a bit more realistic as opposed to...
I think that's why I took to Ken Shamrock quite a lot like over the years, because whenever he did a match, he looked like he was legitimately trying to take your head off.
Yeah.
Like, it made it look, even when he did his like jumping calf kick, or even like some of the fancy moves that he made, he looked like he was legitimately trying to make you stay down.
Yeah, exactly. And the fact that he's even got a legit background as well. Like, I think by the time he had come in, he was already a multiple-time UFC heavyweight champion. So that was a massive grab for WWE at the time.
Yeah, I think that's what made him quite popular at the time, or made it like gave him a reasonable amount of success. He already had that established legit like MMA background, and he said multiple-time world champion.
Yeah, nice. That's Ken Sham, and he even recently just got inducted into the Impact Hall of Fame. I'm surprised he hasn't been inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. I don't know if he's got any type of bad blood with WWE at the moment.
I don't know if any contact has been made, but I'd love to see it. I'd love to see him being inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame as well as the Impact.
Yeah, 100%. He had some sick feuds. He had feuds with like The Rock, Owen Hart, Steve Blackman. Like, he had some, even Val Venis. Like, I don't really like Val Venis, but he had some sick feuds.
Oh man, some of his feuds and some of his matches, even with some people he may not necessarily expect it from, were just absolutely incredible. And the guy, I mean, is even now he can still work pretty in the 50s.
He looks incredible shape. Exactly. I was watching him the other day in Impact, and I just thought to myself, this guy's in his 50s, and he's like, I'd pray to be in that kind of shape in my 50s.
I would love to be in that kind of shape now, never mind in my 50s.
No, it's crazy. So let's talk about how you got into your first spell with wrestling. So in terms of like training, how was it for you training? Like, how long have you been active for?
I started training about 2.5 years ago, and I made my debut about a year or so after that.
Yeah. And how was training? How was it starting off with the training? Was it tough for you? Did it come quite difficult to you?
It was more nerve-wracking than anything, because I was going to like a place I didn't know. I was taking myself out of like my comfort zone and my routine. And as an autistic person, I like my routine, which is like this whole gym being locked down is kind of struggling as well. But I found the training quite nerve-wracking the first couple of times, because I was getting used to being in a new place and everything. But then I started getting into like, the drills and running the ropes and going through your bread and butter moves, like your body slams and clotheslines. I found that I really got into it. I really enjoyed it. I was really tired and aching, and I had like rope welts on my back. But like every time I'd wake up the following day and be aching from training, I really enjoyed it, and I really like forced me to go to the next training session, because I wanted to be better and I wanted to train my body to be better at it. So
yeah, because even other wrestlers I've spoken to, and they've more or less said similar things to you as well. They've said like even like taking bumps and running the ropes, it's painful at first, but as time goes on, your body kind of builds calluses, so you just get used to it. So you just get to a point where it's almost just second nature to you at that point.
Yeah, your body becomes just immune to it eventually.
Yeah, because I want to eventually, like, my dream is to just wrestle one match. That's literally it. I think I've got one match in me. That's about it. But
that's it. I said to myself, because I was approaching 31 when I started, and I thought, right, if I could just do one match, I'll consider that dream achieved, because most people are either in the peak of their career or winding down the career when they get into their 30s.
Yeah.
So if I could wrestle one match, I'm like, yes, lifelong dream achieved. And here I am, like a couple of years later, trying to one more. I just want to do this. I just want to do this next thing.
Yeah, hopefully, I don't know, maybe I'll pluck the courage to at least go to, because a few of my friends have started doing training, so I want to at least go to one training session, see how it is. If I don't like it, then I can at least say I've tried the training. But my dream is I want to have a match against Mark Jindrak. Exactly. But I want to fight Mark Jindrak. Me and him are currently in we had a few back and forths on Twitter, so I feel like I need to motivate.
I'd sign up to see that.
Yeah, I need to motivate myself to just whoop his ass and let him know that, listen.
Well, obviously,
I'm the real one here.
He's got beef with you on Twitter, so you need to obviously sort that out.
That's literally it. He keeps ducking away from me now, but I mean, he will eventually see this, and we have to have it by force. So, Mark, if you see this, you need to have our match.
Mark, I'm backing up that challenge. If you watch this, I'm endorsing that challenge.
So you mentioned earlier about autism, and
yeah,
I'm someone, for me personally, autism is very near and dear to my heart because my younger brother's autistic.
Oh, right.
So I wanted to know, and obviously with a lot of people that don't know, the spectrum for autism varies. You can be someone that's very communicative to someone that's not. So in terms of you, how was it navigating around? How has it been navigating around the wrestling business with autism?
Well, some of the positive aspects would be, I mean, with like when you're going into a match, you know what your moves are, you know what your opponent's moves are, and you try and make a good, like, you know when the moves are going to come, even if you haven't had time to go through the match, right, this is Les, this is mine, we're going to work it in across that, and obviously you know what the result's going to be.
Yeah.
So that's good. It gives me like something to focus on there, and that's like, okay, I can work my brain around this. Navigating stuff like I said earlier, my clumsiness, because a lot of the autistic people I've communicated with and talked to are similar to me, like they struggle with like fine motor skills and stuff like that. So that's made it quite tough. And then of course you have people who, in any form of entertainment or anything, you have people have like a bit of an ego about them. So they could say one thing and mean another thing. I'm one of those. I don't deal very well with subtlety or anything like that, or like social cues. So that can be quite tough. So it can be tough to navigate in that sense. But because of when I was younger, like I share, everyone, we all love wrestling here, but it was my special interest, and I got really heavily obsessed with like learning everything I could about people in the ring. And then I got into wrestling, and there's like people who was just as obsessed with I am, so I don't feel weird anymore.
Weird about it, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so it's one of those. What was obsession to me as a kid is now just an interest I share with other people, and I can talk about obscure little things and not be out of place. So I feel like I've got a bit of a kinship with a lot of them, especially because I struggled to make friends when I was a kid as well. So I can now make friends with this thing that I'm interested in and got into.
Yeah, no, that's proper sick. Even when I saw it in your bio, and I was like, this is an important interview for me. I have to definitely take this because we don't really hear much of that. Maybe I'm just not in the know, but I don't really see a lot of wrestlers, if they do have it or if they don't, it's not really a well documented thing. So the fact that you had it in your bio, I was just more inclined to, this is someone I definitely want to speak to, because people could see this interview and think to themselves, you know what, I'm autistic myself, or I'm on the spectrum. This could potentially be a way in for me to think, you know what, I don't have it. Like, there's nothing wrong with me. I could potentially go and do this because someone else is going to do it.
Well, that's it. I mean, one of the reasons, I wanted to do like something along these lines myself is because I know a couple of other, or at least know of a couple of other wrestlers who are like neurodivergent, and this is their prerogative, and it's not really out in the open. And I always, when I first started wrestling and it was looking like I was getting onto shows and stuff, I wanted to be open about the fact that I was autistic, because it's not really, you hear a lot about like autistic scientists, for example, mathematicians, people more scientifically, academically inclined, but nothing really in entertainment or athletically speaking. So I wanted to be very open about it. And
no, I'm glad you were. I think it's just in general, I think representation is probably like one of the most important things ever. I feel like we're in the day and age where it's good to be able to see someone that represents something that you may be going through, or sexual orientation or ethnicity, anything. I think just being able to feel like there's someone out there that's exactly like you, and it just gives you that motivation and drive that just makes you realize, you know what, I can more or less do anything I want.
Well, that's it. And like you say, whether it's like neurodivergencies like autism, or whether it's ethnicity, or whether it's, I don't know, religion or something. It's always good to have that positive person, like even if it's just one positive person to look for, and maybe it'll help other people to get into a similar field.
Definitely, 100%. So, have you been able to wrestle much since the first lockdown, or has it just been? Because I know there hasn't been that many. Oh, well, in the States there've been so many shows. I see so many indie shows happening. Whereas with here, I haven't seen that many.
I haven't been able to do a show since lockdown. I've been able to get a couple of training sessions in when the first lockdown was lifted.
Yeah.
But in terms of wrestling shows, it's not going to be this side of Christmas, is it? Let's be honest. It's November now.
Honestly.
But I'm really looking forward to when we're actually able to get into doing shows again, because I've got that drive. I'm just like, I want to do it so much.
Yeah. Nah, I can imagine. What promotions have you worked for so far?
So I appear primarily with Elite British Wrestling up in Rotherham, Sheffield area. I've made a Rumble appearance for Squared Circle with Marty Jones.
Okay.
I did some ring crew work for Breed. And I went down to an Elevation show, helped them, went along with some people who appear on the show, and I ended up helping tidying up, like putting out chairs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because I'm one of those, even if they don't want me in the show, I'll gladly go help out and stuff like that, because I'm still involved in wrestling. So
yeah, it's also a means of like networking as well, because I've heard of so many different people, go into different shows and helping out and working as ring crew, and then potentially getting a shot as on the.
I don't want people just to try and look at me and say, all right, here's my email, here's my social media, please book me. When possible, I want to go there in person and say, put chairs out, put rubbish away, put the ring up.
Yeah.
Because it's all well and good promoting yourself on social media, but actually putting some hard work in, even if it is just cleaning up, it's showing that you're not going to take your position for granted. You're not going to take anything for granted. It's like paying your dues, if you like.
Yeah. So it's also a team player thing as well.
Yeah.
You're not just thinking about yourself, you're thinking about helping the company, helping those around you. And, there's no I in team at the end of the day.
Oh, that's exactly my thought. My thoughts is there's no... It doesn't really pay to be selfish in the wrestling industry, because it's all about everyone. You can make yourself look good as much as you like, or try to, but if you're not helping somebody else look good, or if you're not helping somebody else along, or that kind of situation, it's not really going to get you anywhere.
Exactly. It takes two to tango at the end of the day. We see it in matches all the time, where someone could be trying their best to make themselves look good, and then the other person probably realizes that, so they start sandbagging or working stiff, or they're just working in a particular way where it doesn't benefit any of them. So
exactly. So you need to work together, and you need to help each other out as much as possible. And that's kind of the ethic that I kind of work with.
I wanted to know, so in terms of British wrestling, are there any any companies that you'd love to work for, or are there any dream opponents you'd like to go against? So I'd say maybe in the last 3 years, I think British wrestling was thriving.
Oh, it's come along such a long way in terms of the level of the amount of people that are into it now, and the amount of people watching it, and the level of diverse wrestlers that we've got now is something that really wasn't present maybe 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Dream promotions, I wouldn't say I've got a single dream promotion out there, but what I would say is that I would love to wrestle for as many promotions as possible. I'd love to wrestle as widespread across the country as I could really.
Yeah.
Dream opponents. Maybe this is probably going to be a little bit like Napoleon complex coming out here. But there's I would like to wrestle quite a lot larger opponents.
Okay.
kind of show that I can go toe to toe with a larger opponent without doing like a lot of flippy, jumping, agile wrestling. And there was this one lad that I briefly met at Squared Circle. He's called Kane Taylor.
Okay.
I briefly met him and talked for a little bit, and I ended up following him on his social media, I think. But he's 6'8", I believe he is, and he's about 17, 18 years old, which is really annoying.
Oh shit! I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, so he's half my age and practically twice my size.
Yeah. 6'8".
Yeah,
Flipping, oh, that's crazy.
Yeah. So yeah, that kind of, I'd probably like to wrestle quite a lot of larger wrestlers as well. I do enjoy wrestling other smaller guys like myself, and I do love that. If I was to have any goal of wrestling people, I would like to try my hand at a few more larger opponents.
Wicked. So what about some American wrestlers? I know you touched on Rey Mysterio earlier, so yeah. I think that would be a different style of match. It'd be very hard hitting. At the same time, it'd be very like fast paced match. Yeah,
that'd be somebody like along the lines of Rey Mysterio. Obviously, was one of my favourite wrestlers. If a chance came to wrestle Rey Mysterio, I'd take it yesterday. I'd take it like quickly. Then I just hear a very different kind of pace of match because a lot of my movesets there, like strikes and like throws and stuff like that. I've got a couple of slams in there, but
yeah,
a very different kind of match. But obviously, I would love to wrestle somebody like Rey Mysterio.
That'd be sick. Do you are you watching any of the current product at the moment? How are you finding it?
I've been keeping up the best I can with the current products in terms of WWE and AEW. Because as my job, I work in my normal life. I work nights, so it's sometimes I leave it a couple of weeks before I can actually catch up with anything.
Oh, okay.
I'm finding, I don't know which I found stranger in terms of WWE, the empty arena or the whole Thunderdome thing.
Yeah.
Because whereas before it was very strange because you had no fans there, it was very silent. Whereas now, where fans should be, you've got a lot of computer screens.
Yeah.
So it's a very strange experience to watch, really, through the TV.
It's almost like an episode of Black Mirror. Like they're just foreseeing what's potentially going to happen in the future, where nobody's going to be at any, like, whether it's sports events, music events, and we're just going to have virtual fans there and just plugged in noise, which is it's a scary thought to have.
It's a really strange experience for me. It's not necessarily a positive or negative, but it's definitely strange.
Yeah. And how are you finding AEW?
On one side, I love the fact that they've got quite a diverse range of wrestlers now, and I love the fact that we've got, after 19, 20 years, we seem to have a viable competition for WWE in terms of like a global competition. There's a few things, I mean, for everything that AEW does well, I think like we've got people you wouldn't usually see in like higher carded positions, and we've got people who've come from the indies now getting a regular like TV appearances. But on the flip side, I do think this is just my opinion, but I would say that we need to be careful of a couple of falling into some of the tropes that WCW did.
Yeah.
Constantly referencing the other company, and it's just stuff like that. There's a couple of potholes that WCW fell into that I would love for AEW not to fall into. Not saying WCW didn't do anything good, because they did.
Yeah.
But I think it's just a very fine line to toe when you've got a guy as rich as Tony Khan, who owns AEW, kind of mirrors Ted Turner a little bit. But I'd love to see them succeed, and I'd love to see them provide consistent competition for WWE, which I think they've been doing well so far.
Yeah, no, 100%. I do think, for as good as a company as they are, I feel like even wrestling fans in general, we tend to negate the fact that they've only been around for a year. So of course there's going to be potholes, but in the same breath, I feel like there has been more positives than negatives. Like
Yeah, I would say it's definitely more positive than negative, and as
Yeah.
you say, rightly say, I've only been around a year, so it's baby steps.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not expecting them to be killing. I'm not expecting the stuff that I'd expect for them in 10 years down the line. It's been a year, and so far so good. I'm impressed.
Oh yeah, so far so good, definitely.
Yeah.
For a company that's only been in existence proper for a year, definitely more positive than negative.
And I just think what it is, it's just great that us as wrestling fans at the moment, I just think we're sport. We have so much choice, so much options.
If so much choice out there now.
Exactly. If we don't like one, we can go to another. If we don't like that one, there's tons of indies that are streaming online now. So, I mean, we're winning. Like, that's literally it.
Well, yeah. I mean, when I grew up, I had to rely on having tapes from friends and stuff like that, and tape trading. Whereas now you can couple minute search on the internet, on YouTube, whatever, you can find any indie promotion you want, more or less. You can find any WWE stuff, you can find Attitude Era stuff, you can find anything you want, really. So yeah, we are spoiled as fans at the moment.
That's literally it. So before we round off this interview, I do something called set the scene. So I'm going to set the scene for you. You're in your dream venue,
right,
at your dream pay-per-view, having your dream match against your dream opponent for your dream title.
Right. Right, dream venue. It's a bit of a cliche, but I have to say Madison Square Garden.
What a venue.
I have to say Madison Square Garden.
So many moments.
Oh, it's
so many moments.
I would say at least 2/3 of my most memorable wrestling moments probably happened in Madison Square Garden.
What a venue.
Great venue, so many moments across so many sports too. So Madison Square Garden, dream opponent. I would have to say dream opponent would have to be, and it's not possible now, but it would have to be Eddie Guerrero. I just think the guy, if you thought of something in wrestling, he could do it. Absolutely anything, he could do it.
Yeah.
You wanted an agile cruiserweight, Eddie Guerrero. You wanted someone to do tech, Eddie Guerrero. You wanted a couple of slams and power moves, Eddie Guerrero. Could do it all. He was an amazing wrestler.
Yeah. So I went back to watch. I went back to watch just some matches from him in WCW and ECW against the likes of Ultimo Guerrero, Ultimo Dragon, Dean Malinko, Too Cold Scorpio.
His 2 out of 3 match at ECW, his final appearance.
Yeah,
it's the absolute clinic.
Yeah, Eddie Guerrero is one of the greatest of all time. And just rewatching some of his matches, I'm just thinking to myself, this guy could do it all.
Yeah, absolutely everything.
He can actually do it all.
He was so naturally charismatic as well. So he just oozed charisma. So no matter what he was doing in the ring, you invested in it. And
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
match type,
yeah.
I'd probably have to go either 2 out of 3 falls. I'd like a 2 out of 3 falls.
One of my favorite match stipulations.
It's one of my favorite because I feel like you can get so much into it. You can either just fill it with basic stuff, or you can work so much in terms of character stuff, wrestling, tech work, high flying stuff, lots of near falls, high spots, low spots. You can get loads of stuff that you want into a 2 out of 3 fall.
Yeah, I think the possibilities are endless with that kind of match type. I think we've seen it over the years. We've seen so many different types of 2 out of 3 falls. You can have a quick pinfall for the first fall.
Yeah,
it's so sick. I'd be sold for that. What would be your dream title? Eddie Guerrero, Madison Square Garden. What was it? Oh, we'd even say the pay-per-view. Sorry.
Oh, the pay-per-view. I would say I'm going to go back to my back to being a kid here. I'm going to go back to the Attitude Era and say either Spring Stampede or WrestleMania.
Spring Stampede was sick.
Yeah, Spring Stampede '99 was one of my favorite pay-per-views.
Proper.
The opening match was Juventud Guerrero versus Blitzkrieg.
I think if you don't know about Blitzkrieg, people, Blitzkrieg is one of the greatest but short-lived wrestlers to ever live. And it was so sad the fact that he didn't go for as long as he could have.
He got so much potential, like such a potentially great career. I mean, it was a great career anyway, but didn't have the, as you say, the length wasn't great.
Had an amazing costume as well.
Oh, that costume! I've never seen anything like that before, because I'd not really experienced Mexican wrestling up until this point. So it's like that costume was unbelievable, and I'm like, wow, who is this guy? And then he was doing all these amazing moves, and of course he was playing off Juventud Guerrero.
Yeah,
just absolutely. It was a great opening match to a big pay-per-view, and it's absolutely brilliant. No. Yeah, Spring Stampede or WrestleMania title. This is probably going to come a bit out of left field, but I know I've worked with a couple of guys who do a lot of stuff with the Allied Independent Wrestling Federation. So I'd probably like to go for like the AIWF European Championship.
Okay.
Which is currently held by a guy I've wrestled, Mad Dog Doherty.
I saw him wrestle a few years ago. I think he's proper.
He started training a similar time that I did.
Yeah.
At the same place, and we got along really well. And I've wrestled him a couple of times since then, or at least he's been involved in the match that I've been in.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of time with me actually, because he's quite a confident guy, you know. Or at least comes across as quite confident. I'm quite introverted. So I've got a lot of time for him today. Actually helped me a lot, getting some self-confidence and stuff. And I could say that for a couple of guys that I've wrestled with, to be fair.
Yeah.
Like Adam Bolt and Jack Tayson, a guy like that. I've had a couple of matches involving Adam Bolt, and I've had a match involving Adam Bolt and Jack Tayson. I play off them quite well. We get along. They've actually helped me along myself, and that's what stuff like that, when you can bring me out of my shell a little bit and give me some confidence in myself, and it means a lot to me.
Yeah.
It just speaks volumes to how you treat other people.
Yeah, I think even just outside of the wrestling and the titles, I think the most important things is just like the moments you create and just being able to build bonds with people.
Yeah.
And just more or less just learning. I think, well, more or less being in the industry, that's probably would be one of the greatest takeaways.
I remember so I'm going off on a tangent.
Listen, this is your platform. You can say whatever you want.
I had a triple threat match against Adam Bolt and Jack Tayson, and it was one of, if not the opening match of the night. And we're going through her stuff, like talking about things that we could do and whatnot. And Adam, I think it was, turned to me and said, "Andy, do you reckon you could pick me and Jack up at the same time?" I was like, and before I could answer, Jack turns around, "Andy, yeah, of course he could." I'm like, first of all, that was a great bit of confidence instilled into me, because they had trust in my being ability. But then when I actually came to the match, I think I'd just done a roundhouse kick to Adam, so I picked him up, got him in a fireman's carry, and Jack was climbing up to the top rope. And so while I had Adam, I ended up throwing a forearm at Jack on the rope and then putting him on my shoulders.
Yeah.
And the pop from the crowd from just doing that, I didn't do a move for it, and they ended up fighting off of me. But the pop from me just picking up those two guys, seeing a smaller guy do that, I think popped the crowd, and I think that's one of my absolute favourite moments of wrestling that I've done so far. And it came from one moment, one little thing of two guys having confidence in me to do flat spots. So
yeah, just get friends that are able to gas you. That's literally it. If they're able to instill confidence in you, then who's to say you have to do them? You have to do them proud and say, you know what, you guys believe I can do it.
Exactly.
If
they show me that little bit of confidence, then I want to repay that in kind. So.
Exactly. So that's literally it. Man, this has been a great one. I won't even lie to you. This has been sick. I enjoyed it.
I've really enjoyed it, and this is actually the first time I've ever done like something like this, to record an interview and whatnot. So it's...
I'm glad you was able to come on and just bless everyone with the gems and just letting people know who you are and just letting them know your story. And
yeah, I really appreciate being having this opportunity to, you know, talk and ramble on a little bit. So
would you like to give everyone just where they can find your Twitter, Instagram? We're gonna have everything in the description as well. So
my Twitter is AndersonNorth87, and my Instagram is AndersonNorth_Graps. Search up on Facebook as Anderson North -wrestler.
Good. It's been your guy Delboy, and we'll see you guys next week with another episode of In the Know With.